Do you find your modern classic motoring just a little bit too engine-y? If so, Morgan has something for you on that front. Meet the EV3, the all-electric Morgan. Since launching the new Morgan three-wheeler a few years ago, Morgan's budget model has found many fans, but news of an electric one got a few people very excited. For a company like Morgan, one rooted in the past, a concession to a technology like electric vehicles is a big one. Now this doesn't look like any Morgan I've seen before, so rather than have me bumble my way through an explanation, here's John Wells, Morgan's head of design, to explain what he's done.
So this is our new EV3. It's a completely electric vehicle and it's entirely production intent. So this is Morgan entering the world of EV vehicles. I mean, for me, the whole approach to this whole EV project at first, I was somewhat worried to be honest. I mean, the three-wheeler is such an impressive vehicle with the twin engine up the front, all the noise and the drama, and the way this engine is such a focal point of the car because of how it sounds and how it looks. So before I drove the car for the first time, I was a little apprehensive. But as soon as I did, I mean, with no bias, I completely changed my opinion of EV cars in general almost. You could hear the wind opposed to just the engine coming past your face. You stopped relying on listening to the revs of the engine to gauge your speed going into a corner, and you started feeling the effects of the torque a little bit perhaps, and the way the power was delivered. You've got no gearbox, so it's 0 to everything. Power which is quite similar to the ICE version. So straight away I was excited. But the challenge was, of course, from a design point of view, what do you do with this big missing gaping hole at the front where you used to have a beautiful polished V-twin engine? I wanted the face of this car to be functional, I think was the biggest challenge for me. And I started looking at all sorts of stuff. I knew there had to be an element of modernity to the design. I say modern design, we were looking at 1950s robots. I mean, that's modern for Morgan. And so we're looking at 1950s Cyclops robots. And then I got looking at other streamlined vehicles from the 1930s. So I thought perhaps there's an opportunity here to build a classic car with some of that aerodynamic styling. But then of course these cars had a big grille, a big face and a big mouth, which you see on every vehicle on the road because they have an engine they need to feed with air. And we don't have that requirement on an electronic car. So I thought about what perhaps a mouth or a graphic like this could be used for. Getting into the sort of engineering and the technicalities of the car, speaking to the engineers, we soon learned that these batteries do actually require some cooling, and as do the motors. So quite quickly this idea of having brass conductive cooling slats on the front of our car appeared, and all of a sudden we had purpose for this hole, this face, and the aerodynamic styling around it. What I particularly enjoy is looking at classic racing bikes, very streamlined aerodynamic fairings that have been converted for road use. And often the headlight, opposed to spoiling that nose, is put offset to one side. And then this idea of asymmetry combined with aerodynamics came into play. So one side of the car we completely streamlined. We've got a very smooth, flowing surface down the one side of the car. On the other side we have this single monocle headlight. We've got a roll hoop, we've got the driver's head, we've got a mirror, we've got a fly screen, we've got some more graphics, and this car is a completely different vehicle. It's completely asymmetric left to right. We had some challenges. The electric motor occupies the space where the bevel box would have sat previously in the car, and forward of that, where the prop shaft and gearbox and engine would have been, is now entirely occupied with batteries. So there were several packaging issues to overcome, a lot of which did grow the length of the nose at the front of the car, so again we had to do some quite complex styling to surround that. So this car for us almost isn't comparable to our ICE three-wheeler. We've got every intention to carry on building the combustion three-wheeler. This is an entirely different car in many ways, and with it we hope it will attract a slightly different demographic as well. I think a lot of our customers that enjoy the fact that the car is completely handmade, it celebrates British craftsmanship, it uses real natural materials, and it is built bespoke to you. We think those qualities need to remain, but we've actually decided to bring 19 of the first EV3s to market with a department store. So we'll be working very closely with a British retail partner, Selfridges, and these cars will be seen in Oxford Street and in the windows, and it's all part of a big celebration for us to celebrate British design and British craftsmanship and introduce this to new markets for us.
This is a normal Morgan three-wheeler. Where its electric counterpart has a Lecky motor, this has a 2-litre V-twin with around 115 horsepower. 0 to 62 takes somewhere around the 6-second mark, and its top speed is north of 100 miles an hour. Not that you'd want to find it, because
the sensation of speed in this thing is fantastic. I mean, essentially, I'm in an upturned bathtub with an engine attached, but you're so low down, you get the wind in your face and the noise and the sensation. The whole thing is just fantastic. Now, as a proposition today, it is a little bit silly because there's no storage space and there's barely any room for people and it hasn't got a door. However, the original Morgan three-wheeler played an enormous part in getting Britain motoring.
You see, in the early 20th century, a chap called HFS Morgan needed a way to get around the Malvern Hills. Cars were a bit much and horses were outdated. Motorbikes had their place, but clearly weren't for him. So he got tinkering and made a three-wheeled runabout. It was easy to maintain, quick, and technically a motorcycle, so you didn't need to tax it. Perfect for those who didn't fancy a bike, but couldn't afford a car.
HFS's runabout was enormously successful. The people loved it. It was built up until the 1950s when it became impractical to continue. The new car they started building in 2011. And yeah, it's not the cheapest bit of kit and it is a bit silly, but it's a wonderful reminder of how motoring used to be. And I tell you what, it's bloody good fun.
Now the specs bit. The EV3 has an oil-cooled electric motor and a 20 kilowatt-hour lithium battery. In all, Morgan says it's got a dizzying 62 horsepower, but it weighs just 500 kilos, so it manages 124 brake per tonne. 0 to 62 takes 9 seconds and its top speed is around 90 miles an hour. However, it has been said that the performance is comparable to the petrol-powered car, which is a fair bit quicker than that. They say it will be on sale from the end of this year, and priced comparably to the petrol car as well, and personally I can't wait to have a go.